Welcome back to Wave Listens Live. Joining me right now is Alex Kramer, owner of Prudential Heating and Air, and it is a pleasure to have you guys back on Listens Live.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so spring, that is, I would say right now. I mean, look at the weather. I've certainly felt it in my sinuses, but you're starting to see it around the home as well. We're talking about ways that taking care of the home can turn those allergies, which aren't always outdoor problems, and keeping your health in line this year. And you guys are able to help that. So with spring right around the corner, what should families in Louisville and around Louisville, or really the entire Ohio River Valley for that matter, be aware of when it comes to their HVAC system in their home?
Sure. So as you know, spring, it's getting warm outside. You can feel it.
Nearing a record high today?
We're getting hot.
Crazy.
With that, in the lovely Ohio Valley, along with that comes a lot of pollen and allergens and everything like that we have to deal with. A lot of people talk about pollen, allergens, things like that. The one thing they don't think about is how does that affect my home? So now's really the time to start thinking about how do we protect our home? How do we tune up the air conditioning system? Look at our filter, things like that, to make sure that we're really helping that indoor air quality.
Yeah, so we think about the outdoor component of that all the time because you step outside and sometimes it feels like you're just immediately hit by a wave of pollen and ragweed and you want to go right back inside. But if the inside is a problem too, well, then there's just nowhere to go.
Absolutely. So it's actually a common myth. You know, we think of the outside and all these pollutants and things like that. You know, studies have shown that 2 to 5 times higher pollution can actually be inside the home with dust, the M word of mold, pet dander, even some chemical smells and things like that.
So when I think about that, and you've got me now thinking 2 to 5 times more, that's a lot because, yeah, it must be a myth because I have fallen for it. But where does the HVAC system actually come into play for that? How can you guys help someone prepare their home in a way to where that's not the case?
Sure, absolutely. So, you know, a lot of people think of the HVAC system as, hey, it heats, it cools, that's all it does, right? Well, really what we're doing is we're circulating the air that we breathe each and every day. And with that, we have our air filter, we have indoor air quality, things like that are attached to our system. And so some of the things that we have to really think about is how do we tune up that system? How do we get maybe a better high efficiency filter in there to really clean that air that we're breathing every day?
What should we be looking for? What are those warning signs? How do we know if our home falls under that category?
Sure. So some of the big things, you know, musty smells, you can look condensation on windows, sometimes even things as simple as, you know, hot and cold spots, allergy symptoms, things like that are really going to be big triggers.
So what about physical symptoms? You talked a little bit about those. What are you looking for? What are you worried about? You mentioned the M word. We don't need to say it too much, but that could cause sickness. And you just got the general outdoor pollutants as well. What kind of physical symptoms should you be looking for?
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of people are going to think about allergy symptoms. You know, you're going to have the sneezing, the watery eyes, sometimes coughing, breathing issues. Things like that can really be some big indicators.
So what about a simple first step? If maybe someone is already feeling those or they just don't want to get to the point where they're feeling those allergy symptoms, where do you even start?
Yeah, so the first step, professional HVAC tune-up. Have us out. We'd love to take a look at the system, love to tune that up to get it in top running shape. But then more importantly, a high efficiency air filter. That's going to be your first line of defense to clean that air. I
mean, that makes sense to me, but what else is there? I'm sure there's additional steps that you can take to make sure that there's no chance that your home becomes this 2 to 5 times more polluted area than the outdoors.
Sure. We have a bunch of different products that we can tailor suit to each and individual home. We have air purifiers, we have air scrubbers, we have high efficiency air filters, a bunch of different things that we can attack different air quality issues.
And a lot of people might have the ones that you plug into the wall, those purifiers, and they think, well, if I plug that in, I should be fine. But that's not always the case.
Sure, correct. So, you know, a lot of people have those little one-room air purifiers. What we're going to do is something that's going to communicate with the entire building. So whether it be a bedroom, whether it be a living room, basement, we're going to attack the air everywhere in that home.
So, I mean, and like you said, health is a big part of it. Comfort is too. When you mix those two things together, why is it so important for you guys that when you go into someone's house, that when you leave, it's in a spot that they're not only comfortable, but they're also healthy?
Yeah, 100%. So what we want to do is, the number one goal for us is health. You know, a lot of times people constitute comfort with hot spots, cold spots, things like that. They really don't think about the air in which we breathe each and every day. So our job is service to come in, custom tailor suits your needs, basically to look at not only the hot, the cold, but also the air that we breathe.
So why is it important to act now? Maybe your home isn't quite at that point yet. Maybe it is. Is it ever too early to actually take care of this problem?
Never. So we do want to act now because we want to get to it before we get the dust, the pollen, all of those outside contaminants. We want to get it before it builds up in that house.
So could it be a case where your internal system just isn't strong enough anymore? It's too old. It's not pumping these things through like it's supposed to, and they just end up sitting down? Or how do all these pollutants end up just being there?
Sure. So everyday living, opening doors, opening windows. You know, a lot of times in the spring, people love to open the windows. They get that fresh air. Well, when you're doing that, you're actually bringing some of that pollen, some of that dust, the pet dander, things like that into the home. So we want to make sure that when that does get in, we have a high efficiency system that's able to combat against those.
And you also want to make sure that when you are visiting someone's house that you are treating them with respect. You're getting them what they need. You're not trying to sell them more than what they are. You're part of the community just as they are, and you want to make sure that they feel that every day. Why is that so important to you?
It's very important. You know, I was born and raised here. My grandfather started the company back in 1947. We've been part of this community, you know, for a long time. Kids go to school. We have family friends, and we're a part of the community. So not only is it about business, it's about comfort, it's about helping others, it's about us really taking care of not only our family, but our friends and everybody else.
Yeah, so Prudential Heating and Air, you can give them a call or visit their website. The website is on the screen there, prudentialhvac.com. The number 502-966-5813. Give them a call. They care about your home because they care about you, because they care about this community and your health, not just your comfort. Really appreciate you joining us here today on Listens Live.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah.